Chapter 656, Heaven's Key 4. Shwari. Is it because I encountered the underworld at the very start of this life? I couldn't unravel the tangwa of my past life to my comrades of this life. Pot. As I travel through the heavenly domain, I unravel 4 tangwas stored within my body. Except for the one belonging to Kim Young-hoon, who vanished into the future. They are the tangwa of Jaeon Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, Oh Yun-sok, and Kim Yeon. The tangwa begin to each fly away into distant spacetimes. Quararik. Among them, Jaeon Myung-hoon's tangwa seems to fly toward a very nearby location, and following it, I arrive at the bearing tree heavenly domain. Quarring. Upon arrival, I instantly sense a familiar sticky gaze enveloping me. Glass Peacock, is it? From a faraway star cluster, a clone of Glass Peacock flies toward me, trailing lustful intent. Gee goodness, you're the best, the absolute best. Are you perhaps a heaven-earth great net? Unbelievable, how euphoric. Come here, become one with me. Quote. Is it because the mark of Glass Peacock on my body flew over to Azure Pung? Unlike the past life, their eyes do not seem as crazed. I stare at Glass Peacock's clone, gauging its power and capability. Overall power is practically at the level of a great net immortal. If its main body, then it should be at the level of an immortal lord. It'd be worth a fight if the main body does come. A new obs. Then, while looking at Glass Peacock, I simply extend my hand. Quack. In an instant, my true body grabs Glass Peacock's throat. My true body, in the form of a half-human half-dragon, grabs Glass Peacock with a hand of mist like a vicious beast and smashes them to the ground. Kugwang. Glass Peacock's body slams into a nebula where civilization can't be felt, and from the clone's entire body, immortal beast true blood gushes out, staining the surroundings. Glass Peacock's true body is. After rendering Glass Peacock's clone completely incapacitated in a single strike, I use Indra's net to trace the location of the true body. Near the Earth axis heavenly domain. It seems Glass Peacock's main body senses me as well, but apparently has no thoughts of coming all the way here. You don't seem all that desperate for me, ignorant one. This intense power, this violent momentum, it reminds me of the mountain-destroying demon ape. Truly, delightful. Quote. If we ever meet with my main body, I sincerely wish to mate with you. What a shame, such a shame. If I were still an immortal lord, I could have surely captured and mated with you. But since Azure Pung took my seat, even if I try hard, the chances of copulating with you are probably around 400th at best. Quote. It really seems like the main body has no plans to come here. Well, that's how it is. By the way, dear, could you tell me your immortal title? I have no immortal title to share with you. Still, it's strange. Normally, when you see someone as unique as me, aren't you someone who would bring your main body just to violate me, ignorant one? At Glass Peacock's sticky and lustful response, I find myself reacting coldly unconsciously. This is because the allure emitting from Glass Peacock's true body is so intense that without such coldness, it becomes difficult to endure. HNG, well, you aren't wrong. Normally, I'd fly over with my main body just to violate you. But unfortunately, I've found a perfect lead for hunting Azure Pung, who is also a mating partner who truly excites me. So I'm currently preparing to violate her, and use her as a medium to forcibly summon Azure Pung for abduction. Who is this, her, you are talking about? Don't be shocked, she's the new disciple of the great mountain supreme deity. Quote. You don't know how excited I was when I discovered her. I don't know what kind of immortal art it is, but it seems she's learned an immortal art that allows her to freely draw and wield the authority of us immortal beasts, simply by being aware of our existence. I knew it the moment I saw her. That one is the greatest partner I've seen in nearly 500,000 years. And by using her immortal art, I can create a plan to draw in Azure Pung's authority, use that as a medium to summon Azure Pung, and kidnap them. I realize who Glass Peacock is talking about, and I can't help but let out a silent sigh. Single quote. It can even turn out like this. Oh hi Seo, just what kind of battle did you go through in your past life? The Great Mountain Holy Mother Tai Shan Sheng Mu Oh hi Seo. The newly ascended Divine Spirit, and direct disciple of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. If it's her, she will surely be able to accept everything I have. Abducting Azure Pung who's hiding in the underworld may be nearly impossible, but through the Great Mountain Holy Mother, the chances of kidnapping would rise exponentially. And rather than Azure Pung, it's far easier to find the great mountain Holy Mother hiding in the Earth Axis heavenly domain, make her into a fool, and make her mine. Quote. I look at Glass Peacock with a slightly disturbed feeling, but then realize there's actually some overlap between our goals. Yes, come to think of it, I also need to make contact with Ohicio. And to do that, I need to break through the Earth Axis heavenly domain, which is now filled with the corpse mountain blood sea left behind by Great Mountain. If I can join forces with Glass Peacock to contact Ohicio, that wouldn't be so bad. In the previous life, even when Glass Peacock charged at her in heat, Ohicio seems to have somehow managed to defend herself, and during that time she apparently even joined hands with Black Dragon. But in this life, what would happen if I join hands with Glass Peacock and invade the Earth Axis heavenly domain? I can break through the Earth Axis heavenly domain. And, just as I swore in my past life, I might be able to grasp the starting point to saving Ohicio. Yes, in that case, let's look at the situation and think about joining hands with Glass Peacock. What are you doing right now? I grab Glass Peacock's clone tightly and begin compressing it like a ball. This is good, too. There, press there a little more. Quote. Koo-doo-doo-dook. After rolling the ever-blabbering Glass Peacock into a tight ball, I cover them entirely with Glass True Fire, then embed 3 Northern Dipper sealing immortal flags to seal them away. Since it isn't the same sealing method used for myself, Glass Peacock shouldn't be able to take control of it. I'll use this clone as a medium to later track down Glass Peacock's main body and propose a collaboration. With the plan set, I immediately begin heading to find Jeon Myung-hoon. Have you been well, Jeon Myung-hoon? Seo Eun-yun. Jeon Myung-hoon is right in the middle of building a small hut at the edge of a middle realm in the Bearing Tree heavenly domain. It seems he hasn't been here long. And is it because it hasn't been long since I sent the Tanghua? He's still only at the entering nirvana stage. It looks like he'll need a separate push to advance to true immortality. You haven't advanced to true immortal yet. Yeah, I think I still need to prepare my heart before I do that, you see. There's no need for that. Toward the confused Jeon Myung-hoon. I snap my fingers. Quick. Just like that, Jeon Myung-hoon, who is at the entering nirvana stage, dies in a single blow. The underworld has begun to support me. Which means, the underworld has already chosen to raise the enders of this era to the peak through me. In other words, there will no longer be cases like before where he was taxidermized in front of the underworld with his butt stuck. Jeon Myung-hoon will soon advance to true immortal, and while I wait for his advancement, I summon Ham Jin, Yoo-hee, Yo-hee, and others, explain the situation, and fuse them with the bodies of their previous lives. That is, I fuse them with my immortal treasures. Of course, if their power increases too drastically all at once, their souls won't be able to endure it. So I seal their past life realms and take measures so that their realm can be gradually unlocked depending on their cultivation progress. For several days, I take such measures for my immortal treasures, and before long, I witness Jeon Myung-hoon's ascension as a true immortal. Kurururun. From within the red lightning, Jeon Myung-hoon succeeds in his true immortal advancement and turns to look at me. Seo Eun-yun, you. He seems about to say something to me, but after sensing my aura, he trembles, suppresses his anger, and lets out a sigh. Great net immortal, That's right. More precisely, a heaven-earth great net immortal. Quote. Jeon Myung-hoon lets out another deep sigh and then asks. What are you going to do from now on? Kururun. Since Jeon Myung-hoon also received the power of the Tanghua, the total strength he can currently exert is nearly on par with a great net immortal, though only in short bursts. But perhaps because he still doesn't understand his own strength, he speaks to me with a lowered attitude and asks about my plans. First, let's gather all our comrades. Quote. Not a bad idea. I wonder who needs to meet with who. And, I need your help. I tell Jeon Myung-hoon about the Salt Sea returning due jade. And the mission the underworld entrusted to me. Quote. So, in order to learn the disgrace of the heavenly venerables that the heavenly venerable of the underworld told you to uncover, you need to go out to the outer sea. And to go to the outer sea, you need the Salt Sea returning due jade, so you're asking us to help activate it. That's right. Your role is especially important, since you should be able to properly control the Great Desolate Path. In fact, I already handed over the Great Desolate Path to Jeon Myung-hoon, and since Golden Shaking Bird is very satisfied, he should be able to wield it quite skillfully. And for someone like Jaeon Myung-hoon, who I have plans for assigned within the Heavenly King Heavenly Domain, and can enter and exit it immediately when needed, he is essential to activating the Salt Sea Returning Dew Jade. Well fine, I'll help, thank you. Thus, after reuniting with Jaeon Myung-hoon and joining forces, I head to the Twin Holding Heavenly Domain to find the next comrade. Twin Holding Heavenly Domain, the place that can be called the center, the seat of the Swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity. I activate the flawless mantra and, together with Jaeon Myung-hoon, enter the belly of the Swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity. Is it because I cultivated the flawless mantra at least 999 times through the orthodox method? To my eyes, the insides of the Swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity appear completely visible. I can see it, there she is. In an instant, I find a path inside the Swallowing Heaven Supreme Deity's body and manage to meet Kong Min-hee. It's been a while, Kong Min-hee. Quote. Kong Min-hee, surprised to see me appear so suddenly, shows a slightly startled expression before speaking. Quote. You still have a knack for startling people, Seo Eun-yun. Is it because I reached Indra's net and attained all of triple divinity? Unlike before, I now realize that I can see into Kong Min-hee's heart, which I had previously avoided looking into too closely, as clearly as looking at my own palm. Quote. Damn it, the longing that lingers in a corner of her heart. The sorrow, and led by those feelings. The desire to protect me, to protect us. That heart is so vivid, I can't help but feel bitter. I don't sense it from Jaeon Myung-hoon, who holds only a longtime friend's concern for me, but from her, who still carries the heart of a former lover, I sense it immediately. Quote. I see, the reason why the underworld said we lack souls becomes immediately clear. We are not people who possess human souls. Only now do I realize what it means to be mere fragments of an absolute. It's entirely artificial. How can a human heart revolve solely around one thing called sorrow? How can every thought process be centered only on sorrow? That's right, Kong Min-hee was born solely to be sad. And through that truth, I finally understand why Yang Soo-jin tried so desperately to change his fate. Yang Soo-jin's fate was probably anger, meaning, his life, his ideology, and his entire way of thought revolved solely around being angry. He, himself, probably wished to stop being angry. Quote. Kong Min-hee. I place my hand on Kong Min-hee's shoulder and, after long hesitation, finally say something. Quote. I hope you won't only be sad. Quote. I know well that the greatest cause of that sorrow is me. However, I hope that, even if she feels some sadness over me, one day she realizes that life is not made up of sorrow alone. That's what I think. Someday, I hope that all of you, too, may come to possess not a mind and fate artificially implanted into you by someone, but a true soul, and through it, come to enjoy a broader range of emotions, and live more joyfully. No, not hope. I will definitely make it so. Waak. Startled by my sudden words, Kong Min-hee blushes and stumbles back. What was that? Are you crazy, Seo Eun-yun? Quote. I stare directly into the depths of Kong Min-hee's chest and observe the reaction. There's definitely the workings of a heart. But, that heart cannot surpass the vast authority that governs sorrow. It isn't that a single emotion is bound to her life. Rather, it's as if her entire life is bound to that one emotion. And from seeing that, I realize something. Let's try, steadily, continuously, to turn the heart that life is bound to, into a heart that is bound to life. Let's keep trying, so she can come to understand that heart. It's not only Kong Min-hee. It applies to all of us. I want to let them know that life isn't something expressed by just a single emotion, but is made of countless more. Someday, I want everyone, including Kong Min-hee, to break free from the fate and artificially imposed absolute nature that binds them. And as they break free, I want to plant the seeds from which their souls can sprout. I establish a new goal moving forward. Meeting Kim Young-hoon and challenging the audience chamber isn't the end. Giving all my comrades a seed of life, in other words, a seed of the soul, has become another goal I now carry forward. In any case, I meet with Kong Min-hee and join forces with her. Next is Oh Yun-sok, Elephant Nose Heavenly Domain, Jaeon Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, and I arrive at the palace of the naming supreme deity located within the heavenly domain. We greet your majesty, the supreme deity. I bow toward the giant god of vapor seated in front of an enormous immortal registry, and the giant of vapor. Hyeon Rang nods in response. Welcome to the Elephant Nose Heavenly Domain, brother. Chapter 657, Heaven's Key 5. O High Spirit Grand Tao 9 Heavens. I immediately adopt a respectful posture, praising the naming Supreme Deity and preparing to state my purpose. However, at that very moment, enough with the empty formalities. First, you have come to find Oh Yun Sok, haven't you? Pardon, yes, that is right, but he is currently facing a critical juncture, so it's difficult to let him out. But once he overcomes it, I will send him your way. Does that mean I cannot even speak with him? Apologies. It is such a serious juncture that even sharing a conversation is difficult. In that case, I've heard about you from the underworld. You're looking for someone to help activate the Salt Sea returning dew jade, right? I'll help you. Ha ha ha. Question mark quote. At those words, I do feel pleased, but I can't shake off the sense of randomness. Even if he was asked by the underworld, this is too kind, isn't it? I feel overwhelmed by the endless, inexplicable sense of affection radiating from Hyeon Rang. He wasn't like this in the past life. I wonder if Hyeon Rang is a hidden heavenly venerable rank who remembers the past life, but even in my past life, my relationship with Hyun Rang had only been that of briefly being taught how to handle ancient force. We weren't close enough for him to show such friendliness. That fact makes me uncomfortable enough that I ask. May I ask why the Supreme Deity is showing such kindness to someone like me? Ha ha ha, what do you mean? If you are a distinguished guest specially requested by the Imperial Venerable, of course I must show kindness. Quote. Strange. Hyeon Rang's odd reaction gives me a feeling that goes as far as chilling. Hyeon Rang transforms from a giant god of vapor into a human. Now appearing as a handsome young man in purple clothes with vapor-like hair, he smiles faintly and extends his hand to me. You seem curious why I'm being kind for no reason. Correct, yes. To be honest, I am. If I have to give a reason, then, I don't know either. Question mark quote. At those words, I grow even more wary. For some reason, I feel an unknowable, infinite affection toward you. As if, meeting a long-lost sibling. And when it comes to intuition on the level of a supreme deity, this absolutely is not a coincidence. Pardon, our minds reside in the domain of untainted. Though we haven't formally reached Araya consciousness, our intrinsic rank as supreme deity connects the depths of our unconsciousness to Araya consciousness. In other words, our intuition touches Araya consciousness. Such intuition tells me that you are like a sibling to me. So, you are truly a sibling I never knew I had. Or, a being very close to my own origin. At those words, I instinctively realize what is happening. Just like Hyeon Rang, ever since reaching Araya consciousness, my own consciousness partially overlaps with it at all times. Because I became aware of the Radiance mantra. Instinctively, I feel that is the answer. Because I have taken control of the Radiance mantra that clings to me, Hyeon Rang feels affection toward me. If that's the case, then is Hyeon Rang also a being connected to Hyuksa? Well, I had guessed as much ever since I saw that he looked nearly identical to Hong Fan. When I'm with you, I get the intuition that I'll eventually find a clue related to my origin. If I explain that this is why I feel affection toward you, would that make sense? Understood. I do not know how I can be of help to the Supreme Deity, but if that is what you say, then I understand. I will gratefully accept your kindness. In any case, I am under the protection of the underworld in this life. I'm not receiving goodwill from all the governing immortals for no reason. As long as the underworld protects me, unless the underworld herself decides to hunt me, I am practically completely safe. At this point, the only real threats remaining to me are Radiance Hall and the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. Other than them, there aren't any governing immortals who can oppose the underworld, so I suppose I can relax a little. Of course, I don't completely let down my guard. Through Bong Myong, I've come to experience firsthand just how terrifying an existence called a supreme deity can truly be. I must not let down my guard with naming, either. No matter how kind he may be. For now, I decide to gratefully accept Hyeon Rang's goodwill. In any case, I thank you for your kindness. I will make contact when the time comes. Very well. I, too, shall be waiting, brother. With that, we leave Hyeon Rang's heavenly domain, having received his support in place of Oh Yun Sok. Brother, do you have some kind of hidden birth story, Seo Un Yun? Jaeon Myong-hoon asks curiously, and I let out a bitter smile. Well, all of us do have our own secret birth stories, in a way. And so, to bring along our final comrade, Kim Yeon, we head to the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain where the Liberation Supreme Deity Bongmyong resides. Kugwang. The moment we enter the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain, I immediately feel a familiar gaze pouring down on me. It belongs to Bongmyong. And the moment I perceive Bongmyong's consciousness, I sense the laws of the Heavenly Domain begin to shift. Pot. As soon as we enter the Heavenly Domain, we are instantly teleported into the interior of a grand and extravagant palace. Bongmyong has invited us. This place is. It appears to be the palace of the Liberation Supreme Deity Bongmyong. Let's go. I lead Jeon Myonghoon and Kong Minhee through the palace corridor, heading toward the place where an immense presence can be felt. Before long, we arrive at a massive grand hall. Kugugugugu. There, seated on a jade throne composed of countless mechanical components, is an enormous birdman the size of a nebula. With feathers of 7 colors, the birdman gazes down at us with an imposing stare. We greet your majesty, the Liberation Supreme Deity. As I directly face the Liberation Supreme Deity Bongmyong, I finally come to understand the power of what it means to be a Supreme Deity. I see, it's infinite. Perhaps because they are a newcomer among the Supreme Deities, they don't display the level of infinity shown by Hyeon Mu, Kim Young-hoon, or the Sword Spear Heavenly Lord, but infinite is still infinite, even if it flows from a bucket. The underworld was not exaggerating when she said that even fighting the weakest Supreme Deity, Bongmyong, would result in my limbs being torn apart and my death. Of course, that was before I attained Araya consciousness. Welcome, Enders. What brings you suddenly to my palace? Did you not hear from the Imperial Venerable? Well, I respect the Imperial Venerable, but I have become independent from them. They and I share different meanings, so I could not accompany them to the end. Did the Imperial Venerable send you to me? If the Supreme Deity has not received word, then it cannot be helped. I am the Ender now under the protection of the Imperial Venerable, Seo Eun-yun. I see, so you're one who has reached the standard. What is your fate? I have been taught not to speak lightly of such matters, so I cannot divulge that now. In any case, the reason we have come seeking your majesty, the Supreme Deity, is simple. I look up at Bongmyong and state our purpose. We have heard that the Supreme Deity is currently teaching our comrade, Kim Yeon. We understand it is to help her grow her liberation law talent, but her assistance is needed at this moment. So we humbly ask that the Supreme Deity release her. I make my request as respectfully as I can, and Bongmyong chuckles and replies. How strange. I'm keeping an Ender. What do you mean? While it's true I granted her liberation, I am not the one holding her. Would the Supreme Deity be willing to swear on your pride as a craftsman? You are impudent. Even if you are an Ender, I am still a Supreme Deity. You dare demand such an oath. I look at Bongmyong, who feigns ignorance, and sigh, raising both my hands. Immortal cultivation is keying. A pure white glow gathers between my hands. At the same time, I concentrate my consciousness into the mental domain of untainted, and from above Indra's net, I begin to directly bend the principles of the world. Repentant enlightenment. I feel it. It's different from before. Now that I've realized the true meaning of the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I can unfold the phenomena extinguishing mantra at its utmost completion. The entire world, the entire heavenly domain begins to respond, centered around the attraction force within my hands. Kugugugugugu. The principles of the world begin to twist around me. Only then does Bongmyong speak in a subdued tone. Stop. I understand. I will release the child. It was my mistake. I simply pretended not to know because the child still has more to learn. Like tiny grains of salt. But I do not stop, continuing to recite the phenomena extinguishing mantra. I still don't have the confidence to fight and defeat Bongmyong. That infinite power itself is something I can bear. I am even confident in avoiding Supreme Deity level authorities or immortal arts. With Araya consciousness, I could put up quite the fight. But still, a Supreme Deity is a Supreme Deity. Through Araya consciousness, I am able to foresee that if I fight Bongmyong, I will come out in a terrible state. If Bongmyong brings out their trump cards, or if their creations start to act in earnest, then I won't be able to defeat them with my current strength. However, even if I can't win against a Supreme Deity, I can still turn the Earth Boundary Heavenly Domain into a wasteland. That alone would deal a fatal blow to Bongmyong, and for a Supreme Deity at Bongmyong's level, suffering a fatal wound could bring them down to the level of an immortal lord, so they wouldn't want to fight me. And even if they do want to confront me, behind me stands the underworld. With the underworld protecting me, Bong Myong, once a former servant of the underworld, cannot dare to threaten me harshly. Gathering to form the sea. Enough. I'll bring Kim Yi-in here immediately. Stop this. But I still do not stop, continuing to recite the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Finally, Bong Myong admits fault and begins to beg me. Damn it, Ender bastard. Fine, I will pay the price for deceiving you. What do you want? I would appreciate it if the supreme deity could teach me an immortal art or something of the sort. Only then do I stop reciting the phenomena extinguishing mantra and state my request. Bong Myong sighs and speaks again. What kind of immortal art do you want? I will soon head out to the outer sea. I would like an immortal art that allows passage into the interior of Mount Sumeru from the outer sea. It's a precious immortal art, but I do have such a thing. At my request, Bong Myong sighs and gestures toward the void. Then, something appears above Bong Myong's hand. It is a massive book of light. This book, seemingly forged from the starlight of the universe, contains immortal arts that true immortals personally imbued with their will. It is one of the immortal arts I obtained long ago by capturing some true immortals from Radiance Hall. It's said to be modeled after the original authority of the Torch Candle Heavenly Lord. It is not an immortal art that borrows power from Radiance Hall, is it? Definitely not. It is a kind of immortal art that operates using the powers of both fate and history, so what you're worried about won't happen. I will use it well. Now then, please return Kim Yi-in. Quote. At my words, Bong Myong, who looks down at me for a moment, suddenly disappears from in front of my eyes. The massive figure that had filled the jade throne vanishes, and now, only a speck of dust-like presence rests upon the throne. Looking closely, it is Bong Myong, who has transformed into a human form. Arriving in front of me in that transformation form, Bong Myong speaks. I intended to show you consideration by bestowing misfortune upon you before returning your comrade. Yet you have rejected that. If your comrade becomes a misfortune, I will not be responsible. With those words, I realize that Bong Myong has truly cut ties with the underworld. There is no need to worry. In any case, I appreciate the consideration. I look at Bong Myong's transformation appearance. Bong Myong has pointed ears, slightly tanned skin, and long hair seemingly made of white light. That form appears both female and male at the same time. They wear a long robe of violet and navy blue, and chains of 7 colors are wrapped around their arms, legs, and neck. And Bong Myong's face has a feeling that faintly reminds me of Buk Hyunghwa. TTAK. With a snap of their fingers, Kim Yi-in suddenly appears before us. She seems a little flustered by her abrupt arrival, looks around, then meets my eyes and runs to embrace me in a hurry. As I stroke Kim Yi-in's back, I look at Bong Myong. The supreme deity seems to have something to say. Quote. You have no immortal title. Did the naming supreme deity not give you one? I recall having severed the immortal title of crystal glass being under the teachings of Hyeon Mu in the past life. Well, let's say that is the case. Judging by how you dodge the question, you must have broken it through an Ender's authority, isn't that so? I only smile at their words, and seeing this, Bong Myong makes a bitter expression. Well done, and I envy you. If only we two could break free from that shackle. Are you referring to immortal titles? Quote. Yes, we are all bound to the world by the shackle called immortal title. We are no different from livestock. Among the governing immortals who are not bound by an immortal title, there are only two, the Imperial Venerable and GWAKM. They continue while brushing the chain bound around their neck. Only those two alone possess their own true names. If GWAKM is the only supreme deity who removed their immortal title by their own strength, then the Imperial Venerable is one who, when the first naming tried to bestow the name, Young HWE, rejected it with their own strength. That is why, only those two possess the right to escape Mount Sumeru. I flinch when I realize that, Bong Hwa, which I thought was the immortal title of the Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld, is actually her true name. And, the same applies to all of you as well. Quote. Pardon, you two have chains around your necks. But they are of a different name than our immortal titles. What exactly are they? Do you wish to know? Quote. I would be grateful. Then, in exchange, grant me one favor. Bong Myong extends a hand to me with a request. What kind of favor? It is a simple one. If you promise to accept it, I will tell you the identity of the shackles that bind you all. Quote. Is it something that can be handled at my level? It is easier than breathing and will bring you no harm. I swear it before the Imperial Venerable. Quote. Understood. I will do it. Please tell me the identity of the shackles. At my words, Bong Miang smiles brightly and opens their mouth. The guide. You Enders are all fated to encounter those who guide you into your fates. That is part of your fate itself. Such beings exist. Yes, that is the reason why I bestowed the extraordinary pattern law talent to one of your comrades, to the one known as Buk Yonghua. Chapter 658. Heaven's Key 6. Quote. Exclamation mark question mark quote. I flinch at Bong Miang's words. Through the serving command palace, though faintly, I can observe the head realm. It is a privilege granted only to me, who is a native of the head realm and the Imperial Venerable. Not long ago, while observing the head realm, I perceived that the Enders were about to arrive. Afterward, I observed the fates of the guides to be assigned to them, and those who are to guide you Enders began to be born. I sensed them, and granted one of them the extraordinary pattern law talent. Quote. By making contact with you and pulling your fate toward me, I aim to complete the liberation law talent. And finally, after the death of 2 guides, the liberation law talent was completed. 2 guides. Quote. What exactly are these beings referred to as guides? Don't you already have a suspicion? Were there not those who first approached you when you awakened in the head realm? Exclamation mark. Those who approached you first and guided the path your fate must take. They are precisely your guides. You all were closely linked to them by fate, and your beginning, development, twist, and conclusion mostly unfolded through your entanglement with the guides. At those words, I recall a distant past. The heavenly being stage cultivators I met in the head realm. Jin Bayak Ho who took Jaeon Myong Hoon. Heo Gwak who took Kong Min Hee. Azure Tiger Saint who took Oh Yun Sok. Mad Lord who took Kim Yeon. Seo Waeol who took Oh Hai Seo. So they were the guides. In Kim Young-hoon's case, perhaps it was the martial arts vendor who sold him martial arts in the first life. And in my case, from what Bong Miang says, there is one answer. Buk Yonghua, she, was my guide. And guides are always fated to die without exception. That is how their fate is written, and through their destruction, you undergo great events related to fate, and your beginning, development, twist, and conclusion progresses. In other words, the very existence of the guides is your shackle. Quote. Exclamation mark. What does that? Then, are you saying we must forget them? What strange words. When did I ever say such a thing? If there is a shackle, then there is always a key to unlock it. What I intend to tell you is the method to create an error in your shackle. An error. That's right. To cast off your shackle, yes. You could call it a key leading to heaven. Bong Miang smiles subtly and hands me something. It is a small clump of light. Life. A clump of life force floats above Bong Miang's palm in the form of a sphere of light. Take it. I have embedded wisdom within. The information is quite important that if spoken directly, it will become something that never happened. Quote. Ah, I realize what they mean. Just like when I deduced Hong Fan's identity before, and the head realm revised Mount Sumeru entirely. It seems the wisdom is so dangerous that if spoken aloud, history will be revised. You are heading to the outer sea, so make sure to access it only there. Understood? Yes, thank you. Then, what is the request the Supreme Deity has for me? It's simple. Bong Miang smiles and extends their hand to me. But with the words that follow, I can't help but be shocked. I am a native of the head realm who miraculously ascended long ago to reach this position. But after receiving the immortal title of Bong Miang, serving command, I forgot my real name. Tell me my real name. Just as GWAKM did, the first step to casting off this shackle is to remember one's real name. Quote. What do you mean by that? How could I possibly know something like Bong Miang's real name? Take my hand, pardon, and listen carefully. The head realm repeats. Forever, in fact, and within that repetition, the history we know plays out over and over, and the great figures who once existed endlessly reappear in that world's history. Yes, and, when I ascended, I split myself in two. The current me, and the me who inherited the blood of Glass Peacock, who became mad with lust and rampaged wildly. That split me would not have escaped the head realm, for their head would have been filled only with magic artifact creation and lust. So, recall it. As I grasp Bong Miang's hand, I feel as if my mind clears. Back when you were there. Was there not someone who created magic artifacts well, was obsessed with lust, and resembled me? Recall it. Because of fate's interference, I cannot read my own name in the head realm. Please, I beg you. Remember. This is. I try to reject it, saying it makes no sense. But then it happens. The clear energy rising from Bong Myong's hand stimulates my mind, and suddenly, I recall a figure. I do not know that person's face. I only heard of his fame. But suddenly, only that figure comes to mind. Obsessed with lust, skilled in artifact crafting, and looks like Bong Myong. I look at Bong Myong's skin. It is dark, it looks sunburned, as if someone who lived near the desert. And their appearance strangely resembles Buk Hyunghwa. Someone who lives near the desert, oddly resembles Buk Hyunghwa, excels at crafting artifacts, and is obsessed with lust. Flash. I can't help but speak the name that naturally comes out of my mouth. Gongmyo Kong Mao, Cheon Sak Chian Se, one of the three great figures of the Chi building stage. Gongmyo Cheon Sak of magic artifacts. The moment I speak that name, it feels as if strength drains from Bong Myong's hand, and tears fall from their eyes. At the same time, I see one of the many chains wrapped around Bong Myong's body shatter directly. Pakong! Exclamation mark. The nearby principals begin to tremble. Indra's net shivers, and Bong Myong's entire palace starts to quake. But perhaps due to some method prepared, though the palace shakes, no strange phenomenon escapes beyond through Indra's net. Kugugugugu. However, just from saying Bong Myong's true name once, the aftermath resounds massively within this space. This is. Until now, I never thought much of the naming supreme deities, naming. Though they say fate resides in a name, I honestly never truly felt it. But now, seeing this phenomenon, I finally understand. A name is itself a symbol containing immense power. Kurururung. Bong Myong's entire palace shakes violently. If it weren't for Bong Myong's palace, it feels like the entire heavenly domain would have been shaken. At the same time, I understand now that Bong Myong had intentionally provoked me at first while pretending not to know Kim Yeon's whereabouts. They provoked my hostility to force me into using a big move, and through that, they checked whether a gaze of another great being was attached to me. Bong Myong had said something like, if I give you Kim Yeon, it'll bring misfortune, so I tried to give misfortune first and then give you Kim Yeon. But it seems this was their true intention from the beginning. They made me reveal great power from the beginning, confirmed I was safe, and then made me find their true name. I can't help but admire Bong Myong's deep calculations. This is the level of calculation possessed by a supreme deity. I can't even begin to guess how many moves ahead they have been thinking. Drip, drip, the tears from their eyes trail down their cheeks and fall from the tip of their chin. Then, they burst into hearty laughter. Yeah, that was the name. Was that name. Waak. Bong Myong staggers back a few steps away from me, and perhaps it's because they channeled some immortal art through our clasped hands, but my mind continues to grow clearer. This seems to be some kind of face recalling immortal art. It appears to be an immortal art that brings to mind forgotten faces and enhances intelligence related to faces. It's a rather funny effect, but seeing their tears, I can tell how desperate they were. It's been long. It's truly been long. Finally, I have recalled my true name. Bong Myong. No. Gongmyo Cheon Sak laughs while crying. Truly, thank you. I too, like GWAKM, have at last gained the starting point to hope. Even as tears fall, he laughs madly. Finally, I've gained the starting point to liberation. Ha ha, hoo ha 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 ha. I watch Gongmyo Cheon Sak repeat between crying and laughing for quite some time, and let out a silent sigh. And suddenly, through him, I come to realize something. It is an incredibly natural enlightenment. As expected, the only governing immortal whom Yong-Soo Jin said could be trusted, was that person. For governing immortals, their immortal title is a shackle. Because of that, most governing immortals are like livestock with collars bound to the head realm. But in Yong-Soo Jin's era, there was one venerable. In my era, two divine spirits who were free from those collars. The first is the Western Heavenly Venerable, Netherworld Queen Mother Bong Hwa, who never accepted an immortal title from the start. And, the Great Mountain Supreme Deity GWAKM, who succeeded in casting off their immortal title, Ra Cheon. That's right, the one governing immortal whom Yong-Soo Jin says can be trusted, by the standards of Yangsu Jin's era, is the heavenly venerable of the underworld Bong Hua. Only the heavenly venerable of the underworld bore no immortal title and lived freely under their true name at that time. As expected, my intuition was right. I finally managed to find the basis for my trust in the heavenly venerable of the underworld. From the beginning, my trust in the heavenly venerable of the underworld was grounded in my intuition that stemmed from my consciousness when it was touching Araya consciousness, so it couldn't have been wrong. I can now understand why Yangsu Jin vaguely said, only one governing immortal can be trusted. There was a reason why he didn't just say the name or title. From the start, among the names of the governing immortals, only the heavenly venerable of the underworld has a name that doesn't symbolize the heavens, blackness, or fate, so in Yangsu Jin's era, just looking at the names of governing immortals would have made it immediately clear. But in my era, there are two governing immortals without immortal titles, including GWAKM, which made it a bit more confusing. I let out a hearty laugh at that ironic fact. Quote. It feels good to know I was helpful. What are you saying? You are my benefactor. Yes, I will undo the immortal art. Yes, thank you. So it was an immortal art that maximizes intuition toward faces. You know well, it may seem useless, but it is an immortal art made for this very moment. Gongmyo Cheon Sak smiles brightly and reaches out to undo the immortal art cast on my head. It is at that moment. I suddenly realize that three faces are surfacing in my mind. Is it due to the immortal art that amplifies facial intuition to its peak? Rather than faces related to Gongmyo Cheon Sak, I begin to recall connections between seemingly unrelated faces. Hong Fan and Hyeon Rang. Their faces are not exactly the same. At the very last moment before the immortal art fully dissipates, my mind boils with activity, and I discover the link between the two. In the case of Hyeon Rang, his eyes are less sharp than Hong Fan's and give off a slightly softer overall impression. And that face of Hyeon Rang from his youth, which I saw not long ago. I mentally subtract Hong Fan's facial features from that youthful face. At last, I come to understand the source of the sense of familiarity I've felt from Hyeon Rang's face. When I remove Hong Fan's features from Hyeon Rang's face, the heavenly venerable of the underworld, Bong Hua's face appears. Hyeon Rang's face was, from the start, like a blend of Hong Fan and Bong Hua. Chapter 659, I shall teach you properly. I suddenly hold my breath, caught off guard by the vague connection that surfaces in my mind. What is this? Why is it that when I combine the faces of Hong Fan and the heavenly venerable of the underworld, Hyeon Rang appears? It's truly a strange feeling. It's not like the fragments of truth I know are connecting to form a complete truth. Rather, the more I learn, the deeper I feel I'm sinking into a quagmire. So does that mean, in Hong Fan's past life, in other words as the first radiant supreme deity, he and the heavenly venerable of the underworld Bong Hua, had a relationship and the result is Hyeon Rang? I really can't tell what's what. Come to think of it, wasn't there such an incident before? Back then, Hong Fan's eyes turned red as he stared at Tae Yaljeon who was possessed by the underworld, and he confessed madly. At that time, I just thought he suddenly went into heat or something. But maybe that incident was actually the tip of something far beyond imagination. Such a thought crosses my mind. With my head now cool, I ask Bong Myong a question. Then we will be on our way now. But before that, there is one thing I'd like to ask. Sure. What do you need? It may be a somewhat rude question, but has the heavenly venerable of the underworld ever had a child? Or if not that, perhaps a marriage or something along those lines. At my question, Bong Myong gives a baffled look and lets out a hollow laugh. That's an amusing question. You must have seen something or someone you believe to be the bloodline of that person. Yes, well, I saw someone who looked quite similar. It's an amusing thought, but the Imperial Venerable has never once shared affection or engaged in union with anyone since birth. And I doubt that will change going forward. Is that really so? I wonder if that's even possible at that age, but quite surprisingly, Bong Myong continues with eyes full of certainty. Yes, even among our past comrades, there were reapers who admired the Imperial Venerable and wished to share affection, but the Imperial Venerable refused. The Imperial Venerable said that until they complete their Tao, they will never give and receive something called love with anyone. Come to think of it, she turned Hong Fan away back then with similar words. The Tao of the Imperial Venerable is, if you are under their protection, you must have heard it. The origin essence of life, omniscience. Just as Bong Myong is about to explain the Tao of the underworld to me, His eyes suddenly flicker and he changes the subject. No, I see. There must be a reason why this wasn't explained. I will not dare explain it. You will have to hear it directly in time. Yes, I understand. Then, just to confirm, there is no one who has shared affection with the Imperial Venerable, nor any child of theirs. Strictly speaking, no one has shared affection with them, but they do have children. Pardon, in this world, every being that has reincarnated at least once after death, are all basically their children. In truth, practically every life that exists in this world is no different from being the child of the Imperial Venerable. Quote. They are not called Queen Mother for no reason. At those words, I feel once again the immense power and rank of the underworld. Certainly, she is the root of history. The being who has come closest to the seat of life itself. I see, I understand. Thank you for answering. Though of course, quote. There could be children or descendants. Even a spouse we don't know about. Quote. What do you mean by that? Is there not such a thing as reincarnation? Even the Imperial Venerable, before becoming the Imperial Venerable, must have had a previous life. If you trace back far enough to before they were born, in their previous life, it is possible they were married to someone. Together with someone, they could have born and raised children. Quote. I see. Thank you. Good. I am glad to think I could be of help. With that, I succeed in retrieving Kim Yian from the Liberation Supreme Deity Bong Miang, and gain some unexpected knowledge as well. Right, if I consider reincarnation, then I can't ignore the past life of the Heavenly Venerable of the Underworld. In that case, quote. Back when the first Radiance Supreme Deity Hong Fan existed, did the past life of the Underworld meet Hong Fan and become a married couple? With my head full of tangled thoughts, I leave the Earth boundary heavenly domain to go abduct the last comrade, or more precisely, the one with the potential to be a comrade. The space between heavenly domains. The inner sea. There, I create a small dimension where I can briefly speak with my companions. Kijijijijik. Though I call it creating a small dimension, all I really do is spread attraction force around me and momentarily form the concept of space through powerful attraction force. TTAK. Inside the small dimension I created. When Kim Yian snaps her fingers, countless particles crash into one another and begin to shape. At the same time, we instantly find ourselves seated in what looks like a tea house in Seoul. Gabe, Ja Bei. It's been a while. TL notes. Really old way of saying coffee. I let out a sound of admiration as I look around, and Kong Min he snaps at me. Quote. Why did you forget Earth language? Quote. They called it Gabe on Earth too. Don't say stupid things, Co Unyun. There's the word, debang, so why use such a dumb term? TL notes. Debang is any place that serves non-alcoholic drinks. Implication is that Jaeon Myung-hoon is also being stupid because debang is also an old word. But from Jaeon Myung-hoon's words, I realize right away that I'm wrong. It seems ever since the format of the canvas of myriad forms and connections was restructured, there are some issues with retrieving memories. Sorry, I must have momentarily forgotten. For some reason, Kong Min-hee's eyes seem to sigh, but it's not a big issue. Humming to herself, Kim Yian heads to the machine that brews gabae and begins to prepare gabae. We breathe in the aroma of the gabae as we reminisce about old times after so long. After a while, I sip the gabae and speak with a serious expression. There's something I need to say. From here on, I'm going to go capture Oh Hai Seo. The reason I'm trying to abduct Oh Hai Seo in this current situation is clear. I must go to the outer sea. If I'm in the outer sea, even the splitting heaven mantra doesn't scare me. But the issue lies with those who remain in Mount Sumeru. If I go to the outer sea, I have no idea when I'll return. Looking at Kim Young-hoon's case, time seems to warp strangely in the outer sea. If things go wrong, I could return from the outer sea and find that millions of years have passed in Mount Sumeru. So I absolutely cannot overlook the possibility that, in that fleeting time, Oh Hai Seo could be killed by someone. If something goes wrong, everyone could die. I need to act before she's killed. I have to create at least a minimum grace period. That's the reason I intend to capture her before heading to the outer sea. That traitorous bitch. Kong Min-hee's eyebrow twitches as she raises her teacup. Why not just let her live by herself? According to Master, she's already suffering in some place called the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. Is there a reason? The foam in my cup of gabae moves and forms a sentence. It seems Kim Yeon has tampered with the brewing device to bypass Bong Myong's restrictions. Jaeon Myung-hoon's eyes twitch as well. To be honest, we were close once, but isn't she a traitor now? It isn't just once or twice that she and that Seo Whale guy joined forces and nearly wiped us out. Honestly, you could say we lost the Wuji religious order because she and Seo Whale joined forces and pushed us into the Nether Ghost realm. Quote. Yeah, that happened. I smile bitterly and speak. But even if she's a traitor, she must not die. Why? Quote. Why? I don't know how to explain it. Saying that I'm saving Oh Hai Seo from Seo Whale's shadow, or that I'm saving her because she has become my niece, is just an extremely personal reason of mine. Saying I'm doing it for Oh Yun Sok is difficult, since he's not here right now. When Kim Young-hoon said he is headed to the future where we challenge the audience chamber, I don't know whether that we included Oh Hai Seo or not. Hence, saying why I have to save her is hard to explain to my comrades who don't know about the regression. Moreover, even my fate isn't infinite regression, and regression belongs to someone else. I still feel a strong intuition that I must not speak of it. It's quite difficult to talk about Kim Young-hoon's matter without explaining the regression. After a while of thinking, I speak up. In the end, I feel it's best to persuade them using the most straightforward method. In order to postpone the destruction of the world. Listen carefully. Oh Hai Seo is now the disciple of the great mountain supreme deity who wiped out the Wuji religious order. I begin persuading my comrades using the most natural facts. The great mountain supreme deity is preparing the terrifying world-destroying mantra called the Splitting Heaven Mantra. And the fastest way to complete it is by killing their disciple, Oh Hai Seo. Oh Hai Seo is fated to be killed by someone in Mount Sumeru through whatever means. That's why we must capture Oh Hai Seo. The best case scenario would be convincing her to become a true comrade after bringing her back, but that seems unlikely. So we will capture her and seal her. At the very least, doing so would delay the completion of the Splitting Heaven Mantra by a minimum of 100 million years. At most, by a billion years. Oh 100 million years, Jaeon Myung-hoon, being a baby who has not even lived a mere 100,000 years in this cycle, seems a bit flustered by the time scale of 100 million years. Everyone, remember this. We are now true immortals. Since we can set our lifespans as long as we wish, even 100 million years is well within our viewable timeframe. So listen carefully. No matter what we do going forward, no matter what goals we have, we need this grace period. I speak seriously to my comrades. Oh Hai Seo, due to the arrangements of the great mountain supreme deity, is caught in a fate where we don't know when or where she'll die fighting. Even right now, she could die fighting someone. In other words, if we don't want to experience the end of the world, we need to capture and seal Oh Hai Seo. Yes, and we need to extend her lifespan through continuous prophecies, so that even death by natural causes is prevented. If she dies of old age while in our custody, it could still be interpreted as murder. In the end, regardless of how she dies, the great mountain supreme deity will force the interpretation into murder, so we must never let her die. That's why, if we capture Oh Hai Seo, make sure she never dies, and seal her so she can do nothing, we secure at least 100 million years. Got it. Good. In that case, it can't be helped. And so, we all agree on the plan to abduct Oh Hai Seo and begin moving to capture her. Kugugugugu. Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. In an inner sea near that heavenly domain, a single peacock of light is flying. The immortal beast Glass Peacock. It is the late-stage Great Net Immortal, the ignorant one. The corpse mountain blood sea of the great mountain supreme deity is the problem. There's almost no opening, is there? And to pierce through what little openings there are, I lack enough firepower alone. If I just force my way through, and the great mountain holy mother moves the corpse mountain blood sea borrowing the power of the great mountain supreme deity, I might end up becoming part of it. Glass Peacock soars frantically around the Earth Axis heavenly domain, recording its gaps with a serious gaze. That's when it happens. From the distant abyss of the inner sea, 4 clusters of light begin flying in. They are 4 true immortals. Heaven-destroying one Jaeon Myung-hoon. Madam Ghost Mother Kong Min-hee. Madam Full Blossom Kim Yeon. And the return of Vast Cold, Seo Eun-yun. That one is. Glass Peacock's eyes flush red. Seo Eun-yun, the powerful immortal lord-level great net immortal whom Glass Peacock had been unable to devour, is approaching them of his own accord. However, After glancing at the heaven-destroying one and Madame Ghost Mother, Glass Peacock then turns to Kim Yeon. Aside from Madame Ghost Mother, the rest are unfamiliar. Even so, the fact that Glass Peacock knows of their immortal titles and names is thanks to their clone sealed within Seo Eun-yeon's body. That clone has been interpreting their wisdom and transmitting it to the main body. One seems to be of Dugon's immortal Dao lineage, and the other carries the scent of the Liberation Supreme Deity and also of vast cold. Seems like a true immortal under the Liberation Supreme Deity. With those three and the Madame Ghost Mother together, I won't be able to eat Seo Eun-yeon now. A pity, but I'll have to wait for another chance. Quickly finishing their calculations, Glass Peacock suppresses their lust and speaks. What matters do you have with me, Seo Eun-yeon? We have matters not with you, but with the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. HNGH, such a shame. Since you've come all this way to the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain, can't you copulate with me for just a million years? Not necessary. So cold. Then, while it's regrettable, let us meet again next time. Smacking their lips, Glass Peacock spreads their wings to distance themselves from Seo Eun-yeon's group. But then, an unbelievable voice reaches Glass Peacock's ears. I want to join hands with you. What? You want to do it with my hand? Glass Peacock trembles and turns back to Seo Eun-yeon. We also have to enter the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain and meet the Great Mountain Holy Mother. Because of that, we want to join forces with you, who is trying to enter the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. Well, will you accept the proposal? Yuawu, you want to join with me? Fine. Outwardly acting like a crazed sex demon, Glass Peacock begins a cold calculation inside. They want to cooperate with me to do something involving the Great Mountain Holy Mother inside the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. Good. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The odds of safely abducting the Great Mountain Holy Mother have increased, and while they're distracted by her, if I backstab them with Glass of Vidya Advancement Light, I might be able to take a chance at them too. Their eyes blaze. Of course, I won't be able to kill them in a single strike, but that much is enough. My goal isn't to barbarically kill and be killed anyway. Even if I can just turn them into fools for a bit, say, 1,000 years, that's more than enough to enjoy copulation. All of them are true immortals I have no acquaintance with. Which means none of them will understand my Glass of Vidya Advancement Light or my behavioral patterns. Of course, the fact that they are a mad sex demon is known across the entire universe. But very few know that the true nature of Glass Peacock is that of a cold-blooded lust maniac merely acting the role of a mad sex demon. It is a truth known only to those strong and resilient enough to maintain their reason while copulating with Glass Peacock for over 100,000 years. So, this is actually a good opportunity. Alright, I'll do it. If I can become one with you, I'll do anything. Do you need my help? What should I do? It seemed you were investigating a way to enter the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. Yes. Right now, the Great Mountain Holy Mother is sealing off the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain through the Corpse Mountain Blood Sea, making it impossible for outsiders to intrude. But I've been looking for a gap in that watertight barrier. I see. Lead us to the largest of those gaps. Alright, Glass Peacock, concealing their sly intentions, guides Seo Eun-yeon's group to one of the gaps they previously observed. My firepower may be lacking, but with the 5 of us, we can definitely break through. Then, upon arriving at the gap, Glass Peacock explains how to penetrate it, and thus Seo Eun-yeon, Glass Peacock, and the rest begin launching attacks toward the gap. KWAGWGWG Wong. The dimensional veil of the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. Reinforced by the Corpse Mountain Blood Sea infused by Ohai Seo, that dimensional veil finally collapses, and Seo Eun-yeon and Glass Peacock's party gain entry into the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain. At last, Glass Peacock lets out a cry of joy and immediately begins guiding Seo Eun-yeon's group. Let's go that way. That direction leads straight to the Great Mountain Holy Mother. Kugugugugu. The 5 true immortals move toward the location of the Great Mountain Holy Mother Ohai Seo. How long do they traverse through the Earth Axis Heavenly Domain, where ominous devilish energy runs rampant? At last, they arrive in front of a massive palace. It's the palace of the Great Mountain Holy Mother. She should be inside. Is that so? Thank you for guiding us. Well then, I'll let you handle your matters with the Great Mountain Holy Mother first. Go ahead, Seo Eun-yeon. Glass Peacock takes a step back as if offering a favor, smiling at Seo Eun-yeon's group. Seo Eun-yeon looks at them and nods. Come out Ohai Seo. At Seo Eun-yeon's call, a familiar figure rises above the palace. The one glass peacock has dreamed of all this time, and the key component needed to carry out their Azure Pung kidnapping plan. It is Oh Hai Seo. Ahaha, hello Seo Eun-yun. And who are all these people? What nostalgic faces. She forces a laugh. In truth, she is suffering, using that exaggerated smile to mislead those around her. Glass Peacock sees through her. The wounds she carries are different from Azure Pung's, yet she too bears deep scars. I want to heal her. Through sensual pleasure, I want to show her how vast and beautiful the world truly is. Looking at her, Glass Peacock drools sticky spiritual energy from their mouth. Cooing, and around Oh Hai Seo, a mountain of corpses begins to emerge. The remnant of the great mountain supreme deity. Yet even the mere presence of the remnant fills the space, and ghostly wails begin dividing heaven and earth. It's so good to see you, and yet, so foolish. Seo Eun-yun, I don't know what you were thinking coming here. As more corpse mountain blood seas gather, Oh Hai Seo's aura begins to surge. Glass Peacock breaks out in cold sweat. As expected, her realm remains merely at the early stage of true immortality, but within the Earth-axis heavenly domain, filled with the corpse mountain blood sea, she becomes strong enough to threaten even Glass Peacock, who is at the level of a mortal lord. Strictly speaking, it is the remnant of the great mountain supreme deity that possesses such power. Today, I will incapacitate you and carry out the orders of my master, the great mountain supreme deity. Do you understand? Wing. Countless corpse mountain blood seas wail as they emit ghostly cries. At the same time, the heaven and earth spiritual energy of the Earth-axis heavenly domain begins to gather before her. Now, let me show you what I've been taught by the great mountain supreme deity. Immediately after, blink. Everyone except Glass Peacock blinks. Glass Peacock and Oh Hai Seo stare blankly at the something that appears before them. It is a wheel of starlight, and the being carrying that wheel on its back begins to reveal itself. The being's body blazes with fire of glass. It wears a white round collared robe, each thread of which is forged from glass swords. Horns sprout from the being's head, a tail like a dragon's at its feet, its hands and feet jagged like those of a vicious beast. Within the wheel on its back, a pure white three great ultimates rotates. It is Seo Eun-yun's main body. Seo Eun-yun, revealing his main body while trampling across countless star clusters, opens his mouth. Have you been taught the phenomena extinguishing mantra? So overwhelming is his rank, even Glass Peacock cannot properly hear Seo Eun-yun's voice. And upon hearing what follows, Glass Peacock's eyes fill with horror. What? Seo Eun-yun raises both hands. Within his palms, the jade of yin-yang and 5 elements begins to gather. The moment they see it, Glass Peacock instinctively starts to retreat. Heaven and earth and all above. I shall teach you properly. The will of the mountain spirit clothed in a white round collar robe of sword mountains begins to spread throughout the world. Phenomena extinguishing mantra. Chapter 660. Devil God. Oh Hai Seo blinks. What is this, really? What in the world is going on? What in the world happened for that lunatic Seo Eun-yun to have mastered the phenomena extinguishing mantra so completely? It's simply too baffling. It is simply too bewildering. However, the sword mountain spirit standing before her gives her no time to think about such things. I shall teach you properly. Why does the opponent's will feel so distorted? Why did the opponent's rank suddenly soar so dramatically? There's no time to think about any of it. Only the voice that resounds through heaven and earth and all above spreads across the world. Phenomena extinguishing mantra. Thus, Seo Eun-yun, the monster wearing a human mask that Oh Hai Seo knows of, begins to truly exert his power. The corpse mountain blood seas of the Earth-axis heavenly domain begins to resonate. So that's how it is. As I scatter my consciousness throughout the entire heavenly domain in order to unfold the phenomena extinguishing mantra, I come to an understanding. Great mountain supreme deity, so that's why you tried to feed me the corpse mountain blood sea. Truly unexpectedly, the act of the great mountain supreme deity trying to make me consume the corpse mountain blood sea was nothing more than a goodwill gesture, given by one who walks ahead on the immortal Tao of repentant enlightenment. Because the remnant of the great mountain supreme deity that fills this Earth-axis heavenly domain, the essence of his corpse mountain blood sea, is quite literally, lumps of repentant enlightenment. The beings the great mountain supreme deity has consumed until now remain neither dead nor alive, half forced to undergo repentant enlightenment. In endless suffering, so that's why the judges reacted that way when speaking of the great mountain supreme deity's crimes. That strange reaction, saying they could not tell whether the crimes of great mountain are great or not. Back then I couldn't understand, but now I finally do. Yes, it's laughable and absurd, but what the Great Mountain Supreme Deity is doing is forcibly injecting enlightenment into others. If a master were to beat a disciple with a club to teach a lesson, would that master be guilty of assault? If a parent punishes a child for stealing or admonishes a child for lying, is that abuse? If someone higher gives pain in any form for the sake of the future of someone lower, is that higher person a heinous criminal? Even the judges probably could not dare to measure the boundary between sin and punishment. Though the Great Mountain Supreme Deity may be known as a devil god, they haven't captured and killed by the heavenly venerables of the underworld like the 5 cruel supreme deities. As much as how the judges could not determine if Great Mountain is guilty or not. The Great Mountain Supreme Deity, with pure goodwill, forces pain and despair upon the living beings of all phenomena to implant enlightenment. I see, placing their accumulation upon others so that others too may enjoy the enlightenment they have achieved, a violent, yet certain principle of repentant enlightenment. That is precisely the repentant enlightenment of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity. The phenomena extinguishing mantra engraves one's heart across the entire universe, turning the whole universe into one's ally. And the corpse mountain blood sea is created by filling the universe with the pain of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and the enlightenment they gain through the hearts of those souls. Back then, on Penglai Island too, it was the same. They sincerely thanked the marine creatures and humans who allowed them to perform their spells. It must have been true. Though insane, they truly felt gratitude, which is why the lingering thought of the salt sea being at the time did not harshly reprimand them. Do you dare reject my principle? Wo Wang, Oh Hai Seo, who tries to borrow the power of the corpse mountain blood sea, does not even register in my eyes. Only the will left behind by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity through the corpse mountain blood sea clearly shouts before me. Life is suffering. The greatest teaching in this world is pain, and only through pain can enlightenment be gained. It feels as if GWAKM is sneering in front of me. As if asking whether someone like me dares to deny this principle. Do you dare deny this truth? The heart of a teacher who strikes with love for an unworthy disciple. My enlightenment of inflicting pain on worthless living beings with the heart of a senior, can you dare to deny that? Will you say there exists something in this world that can grow without suffering? Keying, the jade of yin-yang and 5 elements gathered in my hand begins to shine. At the same time, my consciousness instantly soars into the domain of untainted, and once again draws near to Araya consciousness. Gather, I begin to connect the hearts of all beings in this earth-axis heavenly domain with myself. I gather the existences of the corpse mountain blood sea, who endlessly groan within the principle of the Great Mountain Supreme Deity, and begin to pull at the principle that has bound them in a state of neither life nor death. Answer me, Seo Unyun. And then, I lift my head toward the voice of GWAKM shouting at me. A long time ago, someone once said this. Life is suffering. It's true. It's also true that there is no growth without pain. But, the absolute teaching of one person within my heart has allowed me to step aside from that absolute proposition. That even if life is suffering, that's not all it is. Just like how even if life is a curse, when you look at it from another angle, it's also boundless blessing. What we give and receive is not just suffering alone. Indra's net begins to bend around me. The principle left behind by the Great Mountain Supreme Deity begins to be torn away under my will. Suffering can surely be called a teacher of life that gives enlightenment. But, that's not the end. For life isn't made of just that. Just as blessings and curses combine to form the light called life. If one wishes to live in this world, learning only suffering is meaningless. As I speak these words, I realize why, after becoming a true immortal, the powers of the immortal Tao and the pathways of fate and history intertwine to form a Taiji. Because perhaps the Taiji contains the true principle of this universe. Through Indra's net, I begin pulling in the spirits of the corpse mountain blood sea that are trapped within the Great Mountain Supreme Deity's principle toward me. Let's not pull too tight, nor too loose. The corpse mountain blood seas. The entire earth-axis heavenly domain begins to converge around me. I will show you, GWAKM. This is the mountain Tao I am accumulating. At the same time, the phenomena extinguishing mantra erupts in brilliant light and begins to activate properly. Oh Hai Seo opens her mouth. The jade of yin-yang and 5 elements encases and entraps her. Not only her, but Glass Peacock fleeing in the distance. And Jaeon Myung-hoon, Kong Min-hee, and Kim Yeon also become trapped within Seo Unyun's jade. And then, it begins. In front of Seo Unyun, who has been constantly whispering something toward the void. Something begins to gather. At first, she thinks it is simply the heaven and earth spiritual energy of yin-yang and 5 elements. After all, it follows the same flow as the phenomena extinguishing mantra she learned from the great mountain supreme deity. However, she gradually realizes something. Something is steadily gathering more and more. No, beyond that, the attraction force of the world is going berserk. The authority over the corpse mountain blood sea, which the great mountain supreme deity granted her ownership of, leaves her hands and is caught up in Seo Unyun's attraction force. Ohai Seo recalls the utmost completion of the phenomena extinguishing mantra she heard from the great mountain supreme deity. When the attraction force of the heavenly domain reaches its peak, the end begins. Kugugugugugugu. The entire world outside the jade of yin-yang and 5 elements that confines her begins to intensify in attraction force. Centered around the sphere of yin-yang and 5 elements energy in front of Seo Unyun, the attraction of the entire heavenly domain starts converging. The universe begins to contract. Are those stars a decaying corpse realm? Ah, it's a galaxy. Amidst this surreal spectacle, as she watches countless stars, decaying corpse realms, and galaxies all pulled toward a single point, she forgets even to scheme and simply stares blankly. The heavenly domain begins to narrow. Gradually, the world heats up, becoming filled with light and heat. Ohai Seo opens her mouth wide as she watches countless decaying corpse realms being dragged to the front of the great mountain. Someone's toe, leg bones, souls, grotesque eyeballs, various blood vessels, flesh, toenails, and more. Countless decaying corpse realms enter inside, and galaxies collide. And then, quote. Ohai Seo widens her eyes, trying to confirm what she is seeing. The corpse mountain blood seas. The corpse mountain blood seas that Ohai Seo had barely been managing until now are following Seo Unyun's lead and being sucked toward him. Some beings seem to try fleeing into the distance, but without exception, they are pulled in. That is not all! Exclamation mark! 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 Devils. The devils that resisted her and fed off the energy of the corpse mountain blood seas, as well as the entering nirvana level devils that had been shapeshifted into planets and quietly slumbering, all awaken and try to flee in the opposite direction of the attraction force. However, not a single one succeeds and they are all drawn in. The situation is so surreal it feels like a dream. Soon, the world filled with light and heat contracts down to the size of that sphere in front of the Sword Mountain. That is, all galaxies, corpse mountain blood seas, decaying corpse realms, and devils contract into the size of that sphere. No, the contraction doesn't end there. The heavenly domain continues to contract even further, finally becoming a single point of white light. The being clad in the white round collar robe of Sword Mountains looks at that point and seems to ponder for a moment, then brings both hands together as if in prayer and firmly compresses it. The point of light that is the compressed heavenly domain is thus in the grasp of the terrifying mountain divine spirit wearing a white round collar robe of Sword Mountains, caught and destroyed. There is no light, nor anything left, so nothing can be seen clearly anymore. Standing before the Seo Unyun who has become so strong that she no longer even feels the will to resist. All Ohai Seo can do now is despair. This is the true form of what you used. Yes, the phenomena extinguishing mantra, the immortal art that gathers all things of heaven and earth, of yin-yang and the 5 elements, to bring about the end. It is the true power and enlightenment of the immortal art she learned from the great mountain supreme deity. And she has believed only the great mountain supreme deity could perform such a feat. Of course, it is only because the phenomena extinguishing mantra is unfolded by someone of supreme deity weight class that it holds such power. That's what she thought. But now, as she watches Seo Unyun perform the phenomena extinguishing mantra on the same level as the great mountain supreme deity, despite not being them himself, she realizes amidst shock, panic, and fear. I see. That is, the true phenomena extinguishing mantra. A terrifying secret art that compresses everything, refining it into a single pill and devouring the heavenly domain. That is the teaching the great mountain supreme deity had given her. Quote. How enviable, Seo Unyun, to just somehow stumble into such power by sheer luck. In the total darkness where nothing can be seen, Ohai Seo sneers at the vast mountain spirit she knows is standing ahead. She knows, too, now, she will never be able to get revenge on Seo Unyun. The difference in power has become absurdly vast. But I can't give up. She grits her teeth as she recalls Seo Weol's bones, which she has refined into a Dharma treasure and stored within her body. To have cultivated the phenomena extinguishing mantra like this, just how many people have you killed by now? 100, 1,000, no, sorry, it's a massacre so massive that something like that couldn't even begin to measure it, right? Isn't that right, Kukik? You really are, beyond saving. The gap in power no longer holds meaning. So the only resistance Oh Hai Seo can muster is to irritate Seo Unyun's mind a little to plant tainted soul filling the heavens within him. After inheriting it from Seo Weol, her tainted soul filling the heavens has changed. It no longer seizes any target and brainwashes them into identifying with her. Instead, it implants a yoke into the heart of the one she chooses. A yoke that never changes, one that becomes a rule etched into that being's life. That is how her tainted soul filling the heavens has twisted since she inherited it. I will leave a yoke in your heart. Even a faint yoke is fine. Even a sound that very slightly unsettles his mind is fine. Because someday, Seo Unyun too will face a formidable enemy, and in the midst of that battle, at the final moment, this faint yoke she implants will obstruct him. Even if revenge is meaningless, I'll survive within you as a heart demon, and struggle to the very end. That is Oh Hai Seo's resolve. But then, Oh Hai Seo widens her eyes as radiant light that blinds the eye begins to burst from within Seo Unyun's clasped hands. You're really a vil, huh? Crystal glass to treading sea. Twin flowers reaching the heavens. The power of curse and blessing that has reached the domain of immortal arts dwells within my two hands. Now, curse and blessing. Go beyond mere curse and blessing, becoming the power of negation and affirmation themselves. And as I manifest that yin-yang taiji within my joined palms, I begin reversing the phenomena extinguishing mantra. My twin flowers reaching the heavens draws a taiji, within which countless principles of the 5 elements begin to rotate. Starting from the principle of yin-yang and 5 elements, endless transformations unfold from within. This is not a power like the great mountain-splitting emperor technique that tears an opponent apart. This is a power to tell all beings of the world that there is a way to live that is not just suffering. My immortal Tao, it is that itself. Rise, my connections of all phenomena. Pot, I spread my palms wide from their prayer position, unleashing a massive explosion of light before my eyes. At the same time, the Earth-axis heavenly domain, which had been compressed into a single point and met the end, begins expanding outward with the explosion. Kwang, a massive explosion erupts. Jeon Myung-hoon gazes at the scene as if entranced. Glass Peacock sheds streams of tears both up and down, and Kong Min-hee utters a word as if in a daze. Big bang, quag. An overwhelming surge of heaven and earth spiritual energy bursts forth, and the universe begins expanding at the speed of light. At some point, it is bound to surpass even the speed of light. Kong, at that time, I sense that the name of the Earth-axis heavenly domain is changing. No longer Earth-axis de Zhou but Axel Che Zhou. It's not something I changed. It feels like this was the original name of this heavenly domain all along. And, as the heavenly domain is recreated, we all can't help but shed tears. Triple A, souls drift across the heavenly domain. These spirits who were devoured by the great mountain supreme deity, turned into corpse mountain blood seas, and suffered without being able to live or die while repeating repentant enlightenment, now rejoice. Joy and happiness overflow throughout the entire heavenly domain. Thank you so much, truly, thank you. They all express deep gratitude and begin to lay their bodies down as they fall into the underworld. The sight of these spirits, far surpassing millions or billions, nearing 600 sextillion in number, trembling in ecstasy as they all head toward the underworld in unison, is indescribably beautiful. It's true that life is suffering. I acknowledge that suffering is a profound enlightenment and great teacher. But though suffering may be a great teacher, it is not the greatest teacher. This is my Tao. Pot. And at that moment, the lingering sense of joy left behind by the spirits turn light pink, and those scents begin to connect with Kim Yeon. I check to see what is happening. Vast cold heavenly lord, it is the law of heavenly domain's end, that the previous ender, Tridakna vast cold heavenly king, overturned. Through the process of destroying and recreating a heavenly domain, I come to understand exactly what law vast cold has changed. The law before vast cold's alteration enters my mind through the whispers of the heavenly domain. Long ago, before vast cold appeared, the heavenly domains were like sandcastles that could be collapsed at any time as long as its owners willed it. But after the emergence of vast cold, The condition for the end of the heavenly domains changed, such that only when the hearts of the living beings within the heavenly domain reach their peak does it bring about the end. Back when Hyeon Mu or the heavenly venerable of the underworld collapsed a heavenly domain, it was because their power momentarily surpassed vast colds. Ordinarily, supreme deities or heavenly venerables cannot destroy a heavenly domain directly without using something like the phenomena extinguishing mantra. Vast cold essentially placed a powerful shackle around the necks of all governing immortals and left the stage. Kim Yeon, seemingly aware of this truth, gently caresses the light pink lingering scents gathering around her. Tune. Along with a cool sensation, I feel a northern dipper sealing immortal flag being extracted, and I realize. Single quote. I see. Cooing. The scene before my eyes shifts, and before I realize it, I arrive once more in a space filled with corpse mountain blood seas. I've really arrived so quickly to the point it's absurd. This is the sanctuary of the mountain. The origin essence of repentant enlightenment. The sacred ground of the great mountain supreme deity. Yes, what stands before me now is the essence of the great mountain supreme deity themselves. First, let me offer congratulations. You've reached the reference point. Through the phenomena extinguishing mantra just now, I have pierced through the gate leading to the origin essence of repentant enlightenment. Yes, I have finally reached the late stage of great net immortal. And now, I see for the first time the bare face of the great mountain supreme deity, who has taken on a human form before me.